First, I want to thank Mayor Edwards for putting this program together. And I want to thank all of you for coming out on your evening off to participate and learn more about our city. I hope that at some point over the course of this program that you get a chance to introduce yourselves to one another. I can tell you that the majority of us here on council went through Fulton County Citizens University at some point. I was in the class of 2003, and I think that you're going to find that over the years, you're going to keep running into your classmates, perhaps even on city council. I think political education is my heart. And Thomas Jefferson, one of my favorite quotes by him is that an educated citizenry is vital to the survival of a democracy. We can't have a functioning democracy if the citizens who are participating in it don't really understand how it works. So that's very important to me. So I'm going to start off by, first I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second here. I know that you guys have been looking at talking heads all night or most of the evening. So this is, I don't think that we really get enough time, sounds crazy to say, I don't think we really get enough time to introduce ourselves as people to you all and really explain why we do what we do. This is my dad. I'm gonna start by saying the city of South Fulton is really personal for me. I was born and raised in this city. My parents, when they were first married, bought their first home before I was even born on Skyview Lane in District 1. They moved to District 6, Old National, where I live now, and my dad still lives in District 4. Councilwoman Gilliard is his council person. He lives in the neighborhood with the mayor, and I have family members in every district of the city, and I just have personal connections. So this is my hometown. This is my dad here. He was an accountant for the city of Atlanta for about 40 years. He worked for every mayor from Maynard Jackson through Kasim Reed. And this is my beautiful mother, who has passed, but she was a graduate of the Grady Colored Nursing School in 1966. And spent about 30 years running Grady's Bankhead Clinic, which is where I first learned about public service and the importance of giving back to your community. So political education is super important to me. When the city was first formed, we didn't have a website. We didn't have a YouTube channel. I have a degree in communications. I spent a little time in law school. So I went to work building a website for the city to just provide information and resources. And I started making all of these videos. You can find them at Khalid Cares or youtube.com, Khalid Cares. I have a channel called South Fulton 101 where a lot of these videos live. And it actually became the basis for the city's South Fulton 101 program that City Manager Odie Donald has instituted. So I'm very proud of that. I made videos about, how to vote. This is a demonstration of the voting machines. I made one recently about how to educate your children while they're at home. We were all sheltered in place, including just really practical tips like people who are co-parents. These are two co-parents, and so children aren't always in the same home 5 days a week. So they just gave really great tips about how to educate your kids while you're at home. I created the city's first annual event, which was the Electoral College. It was actually part of the initiative where we made Election Day a paid holiday. We're actually the first city in the state and one of the only cities in the country that has a full paid election holiday for our city employees. But beyond just having the day off, I really wanted it to be a day where people were focused and politically engaged, and that we were really creating a culture of political engagement. You know, a lot of times people, they go and vote and maybe they don't know what a city solicitor does or the Public Service Commission, or there's some ballot initiative or referendum. So every year for the Electoral College, we go through every question on the ballot and we try to have a lot of candidates there. Stacey Abrams has been to the Electoral College 2 years. When she first came in 2017, she had just announced that she was running. I think we were in the primary. It was actually 2018, and it was the first time that a candidate for governor had ever visited Old National Highway. And so we're hoping that we bring these crowds out, that people, that we get our voter turnout up, and this becomes a must stop for candidates at every level of government. I also created an annual event, South Fulton Summer. That last summer was our first event. It is a concert and movie series. So we do a concert at dusk, and then when it gets a little dark, we do the movie. But in between, we try to throw a little political education in there. We don't try, we throw a political education in there. So we've had Keith Meadows come out. We were talking about Chief Meadows. We were talking about The Hate You Give. That was the movie. So the theme was restorative justice and 21st century policing. So he sat on the panel about that. We showed Love Jones. It was our romantic evening. So we talked about STDs and HIV prevention. We know that our communities, Southside, African American communities, have been disproportionately impacted by HIV and STDs. So that's another program that we did. I'm going to talk a little bit now about this topic. Anyone who's heard me talk about the city of South Fulton knows that we are the Blackest city in America. So of all cities over 100,000 in population, we have the highest percentage of African Americans. This list actually comes from Wikipedia. This is why I think it's so important that we take this 2020 census. I cannot wait for this new information to come out. You can see that with an 89.7% African American population, we will be at the top of the list. Notably absent from this list are Atlanta, our twin city, and Washington, D.C. Many people think of those as chocolate cities, but as you can see from this list, and you may know, Atlanta has like a 55, 53% African American population, and that is because of gentrification, right? And so one of the things I'm very passionate about is making sure that people can stay in this city as we improve this city, that we're improving it for the people who live here now, and not moving them out and improving it for other people. But us being the Blackest city in America is important beyond demographics. It affects everything from COVID and health disparities to undervalued home prices, right? So we know that our houses, and not only in South Fulton, but in South DeKalb and in a lot of African American communities, we were the last to recover from the Great Recession of 2007. And that's not just a financial problem, right? That's a race problem. We know that African Americans have been disproportionately impacted by COVID. That's not just a science problem or a medical problem, it's a race problem. One of the ways that we learned that was actually back in 2018, Milwaukee County decided to make racism, they declared racism a public health crisis. And then they began to keep very in-depth statistics on morbidity. Let me slow down. They keep very in-depth statistics on morbidity and mortality. And so when COVID first hit, the Georgia Department of Health wasn't keeping data on race. Most departments, or many departments of health around the country, weren't keeping that data. But because places like Milwaukee County realized racial disparities are a thing, we have to talk about it. We have to track this information. That is how we first began learning that African Americans are 2.5 times more likely to contract coronavirus. Hispanic Americans are 3 times more likely to contract the virus. We started getting this data out of places like Louisiana and Milwaukee County, and then I worked with state and federal leaders to force or really impress upon our State Department of Health, you need to start tracking racial data. At the time, there was actually no testing centers for COVID south of I-20, right? But because we started getting these data and people were making this an issue, we were able, now we have testing at Wolf Creek and we have dozens of testing sites and locations all around the city, and we're leading on that. But you can't lead and solve a problem if you don't have the information, and you can't have the information if you're not having the conversation. So that's one of the reasons that talking about race is important. I also think that it can be an effective tool in crime prevention. We've talked a little bit about crime here in our city. We know that a lot of our crime is actually instigated by juveniles. We know that it's juvenile crime. And I believe that if we create a city where people are proud to say that they're a resident, we can say that we are a real life Wakanda, then maybe kids that are throwing things out the window or doing things will say, I don't want to reflect negatively on my city. It just becomes a matter of cultural pride. And so I'm very happy to say that we were one of the first cities in the nation and the second city in Georgia to make Juneteenth a paid holiday for city staff. Another thing that I'm working on is this virtual run around the world. You'll be seeing this in upcoming newsletters. I'm working with Color of Change. As I've talked about, we know that our communities are disproportionately impacted by health disparities. And so this is a chance for us to get out and get active and run and still be socially distanced, so you can participate in this run wherever you are, and then just send your miles in. There'll be more information about that in upcoming things. Zoning is another place, right, where we know that African-American communities have, we disproportionately get zoned for things like landfills and warehouses and transportation hubs and things like that, right? And so one thing that every member of this council can agree on is that we are overhauling our zoning code and we are raising our standards. We're not going to be a dumping ground for industries or zoning things that other cities don't want, right? And so like that's something that we've been very active about. So I've talked a little bit about things that affect the city citywide. Because this is my hometown, obviously many of the things that I do, I try to have a citywide focus, but I'm going to talk a little bit now about District 6, Old National Highway. And so the first thing, and I don't want to steal Mr. Lethwich's thunder, I'm sure that you're going to get a lot of information on how to research and find all of these things, but I would just want to show you this page. This is our city's website, because a lot of the information that you'll see in my newsletter and other places actually comes from our city's website or our city's emails. I know that you know, my newsletter can be a little controversial. Sometimes people think, oh, the information isn't necessarily accurate. But one of the things that I try to do in every newsletter is provide links where you can go and research these things and pull up these documents and see them yourself. So this is, if you see the blue box in the top right corner, search our site. So you can click on all of these buttons, and there's so many things. It can be overwhelming. But if you're looking for a very specific thing, this search our site button is a great place to start. So I'm looking for a map. I type in the word map, and it brings up all of these different maps of the city. We're going to look at the third map down. That's the citywide district representation map. So this is the map of our city. A lot of people still have not seen this map. As we heard Mr. Lethwich say earlier in the presentation, or I'm sorry, Mr. Donald talked about, in a survey, many respondents did not even know that we were a city. I'm going to talk a little bit again about the census. So you will see that all of these districts are varying sizes. But one of the reasons that we do the census is to ensure that everyone has equal representation. So even though these districts are different sizes, each district has about 15 to 17,000 people in it. And so after the census, we're going to redraw city council districts. We'll redraw county commission districts, the state house districts, and the federal government districts. All the districts get redrawn to make sure that as people move around, each representative is representing roughly the same amount of people. So state house districts are like 55,000 people, right? So our city council districts are 15 to 17,000 people. And you can see District 4 on the left side of the map is huge. It's the largest district in the city. District 2 is pretty large. Actually, District 2 is about the size of the entire city of Alpharetta. Down in the bottom right-hand corner, you see District 6. It's the smallest, most compact district. Lucky for me, that line that's running through that's Old National Highway. So I don't have a lot of streets. If you look at someone like District 7, Councilman Baker, our District 4, Cedar Grove, Councilwoman Gilliard, I don't even know how they reach all of those little pockets of folks. But I do have the smallest, most compact district. I also have one of the most, and I'm going to stop and talk a little bit about our map. So a lot of people say, do I really live in the city of South Fulton? I have a Fairburn address, I have a Union City address. One of the reasons that your addresses are coded that way really has to do with where your post office is. So, right, the post office 30349, Atlanta uses that zip code, South Fulton uses that zip code, College Park uses that zip code. But on Old National, the 30349 post office sits in College Park. So a lot of machines use the Postal Service database. This was an unincorporated area, so there was no city that was necessarily attached to it. I can tell you that I can put Atlanta, I can put South Fulton, I can put College Park. The mail will still come to my address because it goes by the zip code. And so you can begin putting the city of South Fulton or just South Fulton, Georgia on your address right now. And if you're not sure, if you live in the city of South Fulton or what council district you're in, Fulton County maintains this GIS viewer. You can put your address in here. It's a long address, so you can copy here, but you can just go to fultoncountyga.gov and look up maps. I believe it's on the homepage. You'll bring up this voting districts map viewer, and it'll tell you not only what city council district you're in, but what school board district or county commission district, all of that. And so as I was saying, when you go to order something, the more that we use South Fulton, the more that it's going to begin propagating in other databases for Amazon. I remember when we first started, I couldn't find South Fulton on Facebook or on Twitter, but like now when I go to Twitter or Instagram, I can put in South Fulton and it comes up. And that's because as more and more people use it and it shows up more in the database, you know, kind of says, oh, this is a real thing. And sometimes it's going to automatically switch back. You can see this is a book that I ordered from Target, and Target, like Amazon, will automatically switch it to Atlanta, but Target will say, do you want to use this unverified address? And you can say yes, and that's one of the ways that we can get our city into the system. Now I'm going to go back and say some people. I hope that one day we can have our own zip code. There are some people that are saying that we cannot have our own zip code. I will tell you this, that when Atlantic Station was built, before the first person moved in, they had their own zip code, 30363. Somebody made that happen for Atlantic Station. Hopefully we can do that one day for our city as well. So this is my district. I just drew this little polygon from Zillow. Another thing that I'm very passionate about is income inequality. We have a lot of houses that are $600,000 to $1 million houses, right? We have like all of these rich and famous people that live in the city of South Fulton, not just former Congressman John Lewis, but right, like 2 Chainz and Candy from The Real Housewives, and Amari Shumpert and Tiana Taylor, right? Like they all live in the city. But down in District 6, as you can see, we don't really have very many houses that sell over $200,000. And when the city first started, we didn't have a lot of houses selling over $100,000 or $150,000. So a lot of people say, oh, my property taxes are going up, right? One of the reasons your property taxes aren't actually going up as much as your property values are going up. So as we make all of these improvements, as we pave the streets, as we hire more police officers, as we hire more firefighters and reduce our ISO rating, that's the insurance response time rating, which you'll probably learn about in Citizens University. But as that improves, right, the value of our houses also improves. And so a lot of that has been directly attributable to the hard work of this council and staff. But in my district, we don't have a lot of expensive houses. A lot of these houses are not in mandatory HOAs. So when people want to make improvements, it's not like you can just go to your HOA and dip into the HOA reserves and get, for example, speed bumps or street lights, right? And so like improving the disparity between the haves and the have-nots in our city is something that I'm very passionate about. And just in improving Old National overall is something that I'm very passionate about. And so here are a couple of things that I've done to try and make sure that that happens. One is this blighted property abatement fund. we're working to getting that up to about $500,000. We were hoping to be able to start, but COVID hit. So we weren't able to necessarily go after absentee landlords because there were obviously, there were a lot of moratoriums on like non-essential trials and court services. But we do have this blighted property fund. We've identified properties all around the city. Some of them, have been burned out or abandoned since before we were a city, since we were Fulton County. And one of the reasons is because Fulton County didn't necessarily allocate funds specifically for that. They would try and get CDBG funds, or which are federal grants. They knocked down one or two houses, but we are going to make this a point, right, to clean up our city. And so we put money where our mouth is. And another thing that I worked on with our city attorney was CDBG funds, community development block grants. You're going to be hearing a lot more about those. We're starting to get federal dollars to come in to supplement, our public safety, to supplement community development and economic development, and even public works and improvements and things like that. So to make us eligible for that, this is a piece of legislation that I worked on with our city manager. I'm about to wrap up. So I'm going to tell you about a couple of things that I'm very excited about that are coming to Old National. One is the Habitat for Humanity's Southern Regional Headquarters. It is coming to Old National Highway in District 6, right across from where Camelot is. So everyone knows that Habitat for Humanity not only refurbishes homes, but helps people who may be challenged with credit or capital move from renting to owning by maybe they don't have all of the money to put into a house, but they can put in that sweat equity. And so we're going to be seeing a lot more of that in the city of South Fulton. But they also, in addition to doing that, they have a restore where they have a lot of discounted appliances and things that you can buy for your home. And they also teach classes for you to learn how to maintain your property once you own it. So maybe you don't know how to fix a leaky sink or install a washing machine. Like those are things that you can learn at the regional headquarters. So that's going to be coming in 2021. This is a picture of the Battery in Atlanta. One of the things I'm very passionate about is economic development. I want us to have vibrant live, work, play communities. The Old National is already known as an entertainment district, right? But we just want to upgrade it a little bit. And one of the things that I say when I talk to a lot of HOAs and I talk to a lot of our seniors that and our 50 plus voters that are really engaged people that come out to our meetings, I ask people, I say, raise your hand and raise your hand if you have children. And almost everyone's hand goes up, right? Then I say, raise your hand if your children want to move into your house when you're gone. And a lot of hands go down, right? A lot of millennials and Gen Zers are not interested in 1 acre lots and 4-bedroom homes. They want to live in a loft, or they want to live in a high-rise condo. And so if you are my age or younger and you're looking, you say, I want to live in the city of South Fulton, but I want to live in like a funky loft. I want to live in a place like this. There is no place like this in the city of South Fulton to live. And so, because we have this confluence of freeways, we have the highest density of people, of transit, and of businesses. Old National District 6 in particular is the heart of the largest commercial district in our city. I believe that we can be this place in our city. So we have some things that are already underway. I talked about, we are already known for our nightlife. People have been partying on Old National since the mayor was my age, right? People were partying at 20 grand and just all of these legendary Frozen Palace, all of these clubs. The Smoking Room has been around forever. So this is one of our newest lounges. It's going to be opening next month, VVS. It is an upscale lounge at night, and in the daytime, it's going to have white linen table service. So that's not something that we have anywhere on Old National. It's going to be coming to Old National next month. And this is a development I was really excited about. I wanted us to do it through this Old National Development Authority. That didn't happen, so we may have to go to the county or some outside agency to get it done. So we won't maybe collect all the revenue that we wanted to have for the development, but the development is still happening. The developer is very interested in it. It's going to be happening in phases. The first phase is senior housing. So we're going to be building some senior housing on Old National. And then we're going to have some mixed income communities so that people who don't make a lot of money can still have someplace nice to live. And people who make a little more money, we're going to have market rate housing. This will be the first new apartments that were built on a national in nearly 40 years or more. And this is one of the reasons that we talked about zoning and overlay districts. We're overhauling our zoning code right now. This is one of the reasons that it's super important because when this was first brought to us, they were going to have like this big sea of parking spaces. And we were like, no, we want to have a more live, work, play community. We want the buildings to be built up to the street so that we can have a more walkable community. And so that's something that we work with the developers to facilitate. Let me stop my sharing here. So I'm going to conclude here. Those are some of the things I'm really excited about. I hope that you're excited about them as well. South Fulton forever.